You see, there's this party she's giving tomorrow, and today she's giving a party, and we were going to announce the engagement then, and then do it later on. But that seems like such a hack's way of getting married. So what we're going to do, we're just going to drive upstate or over to Jersey or wherever it is that you do it, and do it.
I like it.
You know, it's funny, but all my life I've been either too busy or too careful to get married. But now, all of a sudden, I just can't wait. Just can't wait. Of course, I imagine it'll be a little strange at first, because it'd be sort of like somebody reading over your shoulder all the time. But, I think I'm allergic to your cat. If it was anybody else but Merle, of course, I'd be scared stiff. For one thing, she has such wonderful taste. Clothes, books, everything. And she paints very well, too. She paints in this sort of cloudy style. Did a portrait of me last year. She was crazy about it, so I just never did tell her that I was upside down. I've known her ever since she was a kid, and then of course she went away to school, and I sort of lost track of her.
Hello, happy holidays, and welcome to Book versus Movie. This is a podcast where we read books that have been adapted into movies, and then we try to decide which we like better, the book or the movie. I am Margot P. of coloniabook.com, and this is my good friend and co-host, Margot D. of Brooklyn Fitchick.
Hi, everyone.
It's December.
Finally.
Our stockings are up. I've taken down the fall. I've put up all my Christmas plates on my plate wall. We are really holidaying it up over here, even though it's still like 70 degrees, because I live in San Diego. I'm very excited. We've done this show for almost 10 years. And from the beginning, we've always done all holiday movies in December, which means we have done a great number of holiday movies. We thought we'd done all of them, but there's always more because people are always making more. But I'm super excited because I had completely forgotten that the movie that we're talking about today was a holiday movie. But it totally is. We'll get to that in just a minute. But if you're brand new and you saw the title of this episode and you were like, oh, I didn't know Bell, Book and Candle was a book. It really wasn't. Technically, it was a Broadway play, and with a very interesting backstory. But here's the deal. When we started this, when we started the pandemic, like a few years ago back now, I'm sure we all recall when that happened, we decided to do a brand new episode every single week. And that means we had to expand what we mean when we say quote unquote book. And so we are considering any movie that has been adapted from any kind of literary source. So that means it could be a novella, it could be a short story, it could be a nonfiction book, it could be a song, it could be a magazine article, it could be a play. So today we're going to be talking about Bell, Book and Candle, based on the play of the same name. We are still looking for suggestions for the rest of this month, even though we have a fun episode planned for next week. There's lots of movies that you are always thinking of and giving us great ideas. If you have suggestions for episodes that you would like us to cover, especially if they're holiday centered, and you would like to meet other listeners of this podcast or interact with us, there are several places on the internet where that's possible.
We do have a basic Facebook page. Be sure to like it, but we're much more interactive in our Facebook group. You type in Book vs. Movie Podcast Group and ask to join. It's a private group. Thaddeus was very generous to put two to post the very top of that page. One is a list of episodes we've already covered, and the other is a list of ideas. But as Margot said, we're always looking for ideas. We cover poems and songs and magazine articles, anything you can think of. So you could post it there if you like, or we are on social media at Book vs. and Movie on Twitter, as long as that exists, on Threads, and on Blue Sky, I believe. I'm getting one for Blue Sky. Instagram, Book versus a Movie. And also we have an old-timey email. Book versus Movie Podcast, spelled it all out, at gmail.com. We just ask that the book be pretty easy for us to get our hands on, and the movie needs to be streaming on a major app. This one is on Tubi, which is a free app.
Which I literally just learned about from Margot
Yes.
this week. I was like, where is this movie? She's like, it's on Tubi. I'm like, great, what's that?
It's December 1st. Sometimes the thing that was streaming the day before is not streaming the day you want to watch it. So that's just how it goes. It's also on the Criterion Collection, by the way, the one we have today. Anyway, so all those places you can just reach out to us. Also, if you would just like some stickers, give us your address via the email, and we will drop them in the mail for you.
And if you really enjoy the show and like to help keep us in books and movies, you can also support us on Patreon.
Patreon. As Margot said, we've been doing the show for about 9 years now. We've decided that with our basic feed, that RSS feed, we will have 2 years worth of shows and also a bunch of holiday shows that are there for you. Everything else we start to put on the Patreon wall, so everything 2 years previous. And so we have stuff in there like Frankenstein, we have Silence of the Lambs, we have Urban Cowboy, because that was based on a magazine article. We've just got an amazing array of episodes. They're there. We really appreciate everyone that signs up there. Also, if things are tight, though, if money's tight, we get it. This time of year can be a little crazy. If you could just leave us a review wherever you get your podcasts, some stickers, stars, wherever they have you do, that would be amazing.
And if you want to learn about some bonus material for every episode, we also now have a weekly Substack newsletter, bookversusmovie.substack.com. I already know what this week's is going to be about. I'm very excited. It's going to be cool. But let's get into today's book and movie. We're talking about Bell, Book, and Candle, which people talk about all the time during Halloween, but it's actually something that has nothing to do with Halloween. It's a Christmas show.
It's about witchcraft. So people think it's about that. It's also, it's a Christmas movie, but it's 1958 when they film it. It has its own kind of design to it that's just incredibly fabulous. Let's talk about our author first. He's fascinating. His name is John Van Druten. He was born June 1st, 1901 in London, England. He eventually came to America. He's a playwright. He was a theater director. He wrote I Remember Mama. He also wrote I Am a Camera, which became Cabaret eventually. Margot and I talked about that when we talked about Cabaret, when we do our month of musicals in March. That's what we usually cover. He lived, sadly, only to be 56. He died because he had a heart condition, and the ranch where he was living at the time, which is in Indio, California, I think that's near, is it Coachella or Coachella? I think you could say it either way. Most people say Coachella.
I think you can see it either way. And it's the point is, especially in those days, it was out there.
Nothing was there.
No, if it's an emergency and you're out in Indio in 1957, ooh, sorry.
Yeah, he had heart issues, so that apparently was a part of it. But he left the ranch that was there. He left them the rights to I Am a Camera, which became, but like I said, Cabaret. So in the 70s, they started making a lot of money from that. So good for them. But fascinating man. Lots of amazing screenplays. He's written screenplays. He's written plays. And that's John Van Druten, our writer today.
And if you're only familiar with the movie and have never seen this play, Margot and I were just discussing the various community theater productions that we love. When a community shout out, listen, if you are somebody who's involved in a community theater somewhere, especially in the US, but really anywhere, please put your shows on YouTube.
Yes.
We enjoy them so much. And I always love learning about not just watching the show, because it's always fun to see the show, especially if you're reading a play, to see it kind of in 3D, if you will, to see it brought to life is really important. But I also really love learning about these different communities and the theaters that they're supporting. Always go and learn about the town. And it's a whole fun nerd out.
There are some great actors out there that, never get they don't become world famous or something. But we saw one, I saw a production of Misery that was in, I believe, Lincoln, Nebraska, that knocked my socks off. Really, really good.
Yeah, there's some good stuff out there. So originally, so what we're saying is you can watch this on YouTube. You can watch the play version. There's some pretty big, just kind of differences of mostly the setting, because the play, just the biggest difference is the play takes place within Gillian's basically studio apartment. I mean, it's you see the whole apartment in the set, and all of the action takes place there. There's never a second location that anybody goes, and there are way fewer characters. There are only 5 actors in the play. Which, if you've seen the movie, there's many, many, many characters that are added for Hollywood. Now, originally, this was debuted at the Ethel Barrymore Theater in 1950, and our stars were Lily Palmer and her husband, for the moment, Rex Harrison. Rex Harrison, we've talked about numerous times on this show, was a notorious womanizer, and I think he was married like at least 5 times, right?
Oh yeah, and an egomaniac as well.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I think she's his second wife. So they weren't married that long, but they were married during the production of this show. So you had Gillian, our main character, who's played by Kim Novak in the movie. You have Shep, who's played by Jimmy Stewart. I almost said Jimi Hendrix. Jimmy Stewart in the movie.
Be amazing.
You have the aunt. What's the aunt's name?
Queenie.
Queenie, thank you. And you have Nicky, the brother. And then you have the author, Sidney Redlich. And that's it that's in the play. And so in the play, unlike in the movie, Gillian, they say, right? It's like a hard G. Gillian doesn't own a like kooky store of exotica. She owns that apartment building, or she's the landlady or manager of the apartment building. Super, basically. And Shep lives upstairs from her, but she's his landlady. She's home. She's kind of like she's got her kitty, Pie Wacket. Which I don't know. What is the significance of the name?
I looked it up.
Do you know?
No, I did look it up, but then I forgot about it quickly. Sure.
I thought you might, because it's a kitty.
It is a kitty. I do like my kitties.
But yeah, the kitty's name is Pie Wacket. We later learned that he's more than a pet, right? But so she's kind of talking to her kitty like, oh, I'm just not really happy with my life, the way things are. I just wish I could meet somebody different than the kind of the people that I normally hang out with. And, oh yeah, somebody like the guy who lives upstairs. And then he turns up, he knocks on the doorway, and he complains to his landlady, because she's his landlady, that he came home to find another woman who lives in the building in his apartment. So he's complaining about it to the landlady.
Right.
And the landlady's like, oops, sorry, that's my aunt.
The Pie Wacket, by the way,
chat with her.
It's I just looked it up. It's it's a familiar spirit of an alleged witch, General Matthew Hopkins in Essex, England, 1644. So that's why they picked the name.
Interesting. Oh, so it has like a witchy history.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, I thought it wasn't just made up. Anyway, really rather banal conversation with him about like you would with your landlady or landlord. And the aunt turns up at the end of that scene. And so she gets, Gillian gives the aunt a talking to about going into other people's apartments, as one would. And then Shep's like, okay, thanks for taking care of it. And he leaves. And the aunt's like, oh, I see you like him. Ah, okay. And the aunt puts a spell on Shep's phone so that his phone no longer works. So he has to come back to see about getting his phone fixed. And that's when he calls his fiance, right?
Merle.
So we never meet Merle in the show. He has a couple of conversations with her on the telephone, which he conveniently has in Gillian's apartment, which is the only scene in the play, the only set, because his phone is broken because the Queenie has put a spell on it. See how it all kind of works out for the audience and the set designer, I guess, of a show than the movie, I would say. Like, it's a lot less. There's a lot more going on, a lot more eye candy in the movie than in the play. It's kind of it's kind of like a homey little ordinary kind of a show, right?
It's a romance. It's a rom-com. Yeah. It's kind of frothy. And I can imagine like trying to sell witchcraft in the 1950s. Like, it's so innocent what she does and what her brother does. Like, they just turn lights on and off. But the one thing that they do say is that the drawback, because I'm like, well, what's the drawback? If I could just make, because they conjure everything they want. And
right. And you're like, this is great. Why wouldn't we all be doing this?
Right. But their whole thing is that it doesn't make you quite human. And because you're not quite human, you can't fall in love. And they can't blush and they can't cry.
Right. You also don't experience the full range of human emotions, including love and joy. You know, like they're amused by certain things, but they're not like delighted, ecstatic about anything. Yeah. So it's a very, so, you know, as they're messing with people's lives, they don't really, it's just like, something to do.
Right. They get bored.
They get bored. And so kind of out of boredom and kind of because Shep's fiance is an old college frenemy of Gillian's, Gillian puts a love spell on Shep to bust up her former frenemy's future marriage. Shep falls in love with her. So tame. Like,
right.
He gets like doing. He gets like a love spell, and you know he's like, whoa, you know, like Gillian, you're beautiful. I hadn't noticed. And then like the lights go out, and then the lights go back up, and all kinds of stuff is supposed to have happened, but we're not going to get to see any of it. they're just cuddling on the sofa now, and she's gradually sort of like she's having feelings, but she doesn't really know what that is, you know, or it's been so long or whatever. And we don't get any details as to how one becomes a part of that witchy society. So we don't know, like, was it a choice that she made? Was it foisted upon her? Was it her? We don't know.
There's no Harry Potter backstory.
No, nothing of the kind.
Right.
She has a brother named Nicky, who is a warlock. So we have two witches and a warlock. And Shep is a publisher, and he is talking about this book called something of Mexico, Magic of Mexico, I think is what it's called. And this author named Sidney Redlich. And Shep mentions like, oh, wow, I'd love to publish that guy's next, it's like printing money, like publish this guy's next book. And so Gillian's like, oh, I'm going to make that happen. So she casts a spell and Sidney Redlich shows up and lo and behold, he wants to write a book about witchcraft. And that worries Gillian. Gillian does not want him poking around exposing witches because, you know, that hasn't really worked out so well for witches over like human history. So she puts Nicky, her brother, to work to put the kibosh on that. But instead, what he does is become a collaborator / ghostwriter with Mr. Redlich.
Turns out he wants to be a writer.
Turns out he would love to be a writer. Who doesn't?
Who doesn't?
So it's anyway, what I'm saying is like, it's a lot of the same plot points, but in a much smaller, calmer, it's very like conversational. There's not a lot of hysterics. There's not a lot of smoke and mirrors or any things of that nature. They're basically just talking about witchcraft and doing a little bit of like mumbling and glaring, and that's the magic that's going on. There's no like special effects per se, you know, not like anything like in the movie. Yeah, I mean the plot points are basically the same. She tells Shep that she's a witch and that she had cast a spell. He naturally is very insulted by this because he thought we were in love and you were just getting even with your old college enemy. And I'm just stuck in the middle here. And did you even have any feelings for me anyway? And legitimate. So they break up for a little. Yeah, legitimate. They break up for a while. And then we have like a span of about, and we should say all of that. The play opens on Christmas Eve. Right. Mm-hmm. So there's also like Christmassy themes. So then it's like a couple of months later, a couple months go by that they don't see each other. And he comes back just to kind of check on her and get some of his stuff that's still in the building. She's different. He's like, what's up? How come, you know, because he does have feelings for her. So he's trying to find out what's happening. And she is very not forthcoming about what's going on with her. But we know that she has lost her witchy power. Because apparently This is the first I've heard of it, that if you're a witch, I don't know what the warlock rule is, but if you're a witch, this wasn't in Harry Potter, and fall in love, you lose your powers.
Right.
So she has lost her powers. So she's no longer a witch, because she had genuinely fallen in love with Shep, which was a surprise even to herself. Realizes he loves her too, and they embrace and curtain.
Druten said he wanted to make something darker at the time, but he just decided that part of falling in love and being with another person is giving up some of yourself.
True.
And that's true. I mean, I think what she gives up, I mean, I would find very hard to give up myself.
Yeah. As you said, it does sort of show the society, like there are drawbacks that it does show that like lack of ability to have these highs and lows of emotion, or even just like a range of human emotion is shown as a drawback, or she at least feels like it's a drawback. It doesn't feel like it's a humongous personal loss that she's lost her powers, but yeah, still.
It's a bummer.
Yeah, it's a little bit of a bummer. And Shep isn't like, he's not like, yay, you're not a witch anymore, now we can be together. He's like, oh gosh, are you okay? How do you feel about that? You know, he's concerned about it, because the witch part was not the issue. It was the fact that she was trying to, he thought she had feelings when she was actually trying to get revenge on his fiance. So the witchcraft part was just kind of incidental as far as he was concerned. Quite a successful show.
Yeah,
I think it would be with Rex Harrison.
I bet he's fun. I bet he was amazing to watch on stage. Yeah. But it does very well, and it runs for half a year, and it's, like I said, it's got big stars in it. And so John Van Druten sold the rights and they made a movie at it. But this is, America's really different between 1950 and 1958 when it's being produced as a film. And this is the second that year that had Kim Novak and Jimmy Stewart, because they made Vertigo that year.
Just a little film called Vertigo.
I mean,
with like weird supernatural elements in it too.
It's not my favorite Hitchcock. I mean,
nor mine.
Yeah,
I know.
I don't go back to it.
I don't either. And every now and again, like I have to watch it for some reason. I don't know why. Like something comes up that for some reason I have to watch it. And I'm always kind of struck that, well, I don't like Jimmy Stewart's character. That's a big part of it. He's yucky. Like what he does to Kim Novak is gross. And but as far as like the acting and the performances, I think every single actor in it is super good. Like they're really good performances, but it's just the story, like the obsessiveness of it, I just find icky and I don't like watching it.
Well, that's also because of Hitchcock and the way he treated his actresses, and that's how he felt about them. So that's part of it. I mean, it's a gorgeous looking film, of course. I mean, you need to see it if you're a film person at all. You do need to see this in person. But
the art direction is amazing.
Camera work.
Yeah, and the locations are great. Yeah, I just don't like that relationship of the Jimmy Stewart and Kim Novak's characters in the movie. It's just that. I guess it's the script I don't like.
Yeah. No, it's not great.
Yeah.
It's
but they
fun.
Certainly...
There's nothing fun about it when there's a lot of fun in Hitchcock
it's just
movies normally. Yeah.
Yeah. You're right. There's not a lot of... Like, even Psycho has, like, moments of levity.
And the birds.
And the birds. Absolutely the birds. But one thing is, they do have chemistry.
Yeah.
Those two do have some for real chemistry. So it's a delight to see them in this kind of a fun, more fluffy kind of a thing. And we forget that Jimmy Stewart is so good at fun and fluffy, because he's done so many other kinds of things that but to see him be fun and fluffy as an older Jimmy Stewart is very fun, I think.
He said that he didn't think he was right for the role because he was 50 and at the time, and this is a 58-50. Like, you really look like People 50 now look much, much younger.
50, and he'd served in World War II.
Right.
Yeah, there's a lot of living. He's packed into 50, yes.
Right. So he was like twice her age. And so I think he felt like that was part of it. But this film was so gorgeous. Let's play the trailer, and then we'll talk about this movie.
Hasn't this cat got anything better to do? Couldn't you give him something to read?
I'm more in love with you than I've ever been with anyone.
I'm Sidney Redlich. You don't know me, but I think I want to see you.
Good evening, Nicholas. Good evening, gentlemen. You startled me.
Ring the bell, close the book, quench the candle.
I'm one.
You're one what?
One of the people that the book's about, and Nikki's one too.
You're naive, boy, you know. They got these little trade secrets. They got them right there, close and tight. They're not gonna... I could never get near a deal like that.
You are nearer than you think.
Shep, I will.
I'd like to hear that again.
I want to. And I'll be different from now on, I swear, I promise.
I don't want you any different. Not at all.
I want to be quite different.
No, I won't stand for it. You know, you get better all the time.
So do you.
Richard Quine is our director. The script is by Daniel Teradash. And guess who our cinematographer is? James Wong Howe. Who we've talked about, like,
How
Sweet
does he
Smell
have
of
time?
Success. I mean,
How does he have time to make all the movies? Is what I want to know.
that we're watching. So we have James Stewart, Kim Novak, Jack Lemmon plays her brother. It's a very odd choice, but he's so adorable.
It's okay. The cast of this movie.
So good.
I haven't seen this movie in a very long time. So yes, we've got Kim Novak as Gillian. Kim Novak is like perfect, witchy, inscrutable, stunning. Like you
Beyond
cannot take your
stunning.
eyes off of her. Yeah. Jimmy Stewart, we just talked about. Jack Lemmon is at first you're like, okay, all right. He's great as her brother, as the warlock. And he and so Ernie Kovacs is playing the crazy author of Magic in Mexico, Sidney Redlich. Ernie Kovacs and Jack Lemmon were best friends. So they have fantastic chemistry. So there's a lot of moments of, and none of that is in the play at all. Sidney and Nicky, the brother, those two guys together who are good now, they're going to collaborate on this book. Jack Lemmon is the warlock that's like taking the author around the witchy world. And it's so much fun. It is so much fun. And, here's another weird thing. So Ernie Kovacs was married to Edie. What's her name? She's absolutely wonderful. Edie Adams. So Ernie Kovacs, for those of you who don't know, he was a comedy giant, way ahead of his time, super like conceptual. He had a very successful television show. he had I forget what the name of his first wife was, but he had a first wife that they had two daughters, I think, and it didn't last long. And the first wife had a lot of mental health issues. And so they get a divorce, and Ernie Kovacs is awarded custody of the two girls. Like, this was unheard of.
Which is very unheard of, yeah. For the
very
50s,
unheard of. So he wins custody. He marries Edie Adams, and the first wife kidnaps the girls. And it's a while before they're able to track them down. And there's this whole trial. And as they're fighting, the trial's later, sorry. So the girls come home. They're living with Edie and Ernie. Ernie dies in a car crash.
Yeah, like just a few years after this movie.
Not long after this movie at all. He's at like the peak of his career. And he's killed in a car crash. He was driving a Chevy Corvair, famously a dangerous car. Like, it's like the example of a dangerous car design. And after he dies, the first wife sues for custody back, but the girls don't want to go with her. They want to stay with Edie. And so Edie keeps the girls, and she's a remarkable woman. Ernie dies with like all this debt, and Edie works and like pays everybody back. But anyway, all of this is to say, I'm taking a very long road to say this is a weird, like, whoa, whoa, whoa. So Ernie Kovacs is married to Edie Adams when he makes this film. And Edie Adams, after his death, she marries another guy for a little while. And then her last husband, her third and last husband, is Pete Candoli, who is one of the musicians that plays in the Zodiac Club.
Oh, my goodness.
In this movie. So when Jack Lemmon is playing the bongos, the two guys, these are two brothers that he's playing. She's married to one of those brothers. So one of those guys is her future husband.
Oh, that's wild.
That's nuts. But anyway, so and then we've got the elder witches, who is one of whom is only talked about in the play, right?
Hermione
Gingold, and then Elsa Lanchester, who we've talked about a couple of times, right? She's come up a couple of times.
Mary Poppins. And there's a couple of
she's Katie Nana and Mary Poppins.
She's in
Bride of Frankenstein.
Bride of Frankenstein, and there's another one that we covered that she was in. Yeah, her close-ups are great. She's so expressive. I think she's just so beautiful. And then Janice Rule, who only did a few parts, and she's in this too. She's fantastic in this movie.
It's super good. You know what? She's really good. We talked about her when we talked about The Swimmer.
That's it. Janice Rule. Yes.
She was amazing in The Swimmer. Yeah, when I saw that name, I was like, I know we've talked about her, Janice Rule. Who is in the? She's great in this. You totally buy that these two women knew each other and that they have this like history of tit for tat, and that they just have never gotten along, just oil and water. She's great. She's great. I love how much we get to see of her in this.
So the movie is set in New York City, and we get to see, there are a couple of shots of New York City here. I mean, New York of 1958. Oh my God! Top of the what's the building I'm thinking of? Flatiron. Building with Madison Square Park. There's just some shot, and I know some of it was on the studio set, but some of them it's not. And it's great. It really adds to it. The hipster vibe of, this guy loves bongos,
it's
the
sort
Vertigo
of
Club.
Beatniky. It's Beatnik adjacent. I love that she's, again, like oddly, the play is sort of like a kitchen sink kind of thing. You know, it's very domestic. Like you're always just in her little apartment. I love that we've glammed her up and she's got this like exotic artifacts. Okay, Christmas tree goals.
Oh.
Can we just, first of all, whoever designed this Christmas tree, whoever designed this movie, period,
the art direction is
spectacular.
Stunning.
Yeah.
It's mid-century, but with a twist kind of.
And so she's got this kind of space age, why are they not selling this tree? Why do I not own one, even a little one for my desk?
Yeah.
But I love that they have this. She's got this tree with the metal and the gold tone, and she and the witches, because they celebrate Christmas too. We're not acting like this is this might as well be a Douglas fir. For nobody's like pretending like this tree is not jaw-droppingly modern, cutting edge. We're just like, oh, the Christmas tree.
Her clothes,
her wardrobe. Oh my God.
Talk about timeless and
the
chic.
velvet gown with the bangles, and then the black number with the red rose chiffon and the matching red rose shoes.
The leopard print, the backless dress that she wears. I mean, everything. Anyone.
Even the end where she comes out and she's in the like white dress with the yellow, like very, very.
You could wear all that
Americana.
Today. Oh. All of it, but she looks like a model. I mean, she's just everything about her. And
she's so beautiful and she's so graceful.
Gorgeous.
Like she's just sitting on the sofa, but she looks like a freaking sculpture. She's just,
And the Siamese cat, which there's several. Cat. But Siamese cats are so beautiful. They with the blue eyes and everything. That's her cat. There were several cats used. I don't think any cats were hurt in production. I think, like, when I read the notes, I'm like, yeah, it sounds like one of them wasn't, chasing them with, don't chase them with a broom, people. It's when they make that sound, it's not good.
Let's not do that.
Let's not do that, yeah. Jimmy Stewart with the salt and pepper hair. I mean, just, he's such a dreamboat. I'm sorry.
He really is. And one of the things I really love, I love that we get to go places with these characters. It doesn't always work. We've talked about this a few times where you take a book to movie or you take a play to movie that is a small, cozy play or book, and we try to add a lot of locations and new people, and sometimes it's unwieldy. I think this is like just the right amount. And I love so much, and maybe it's because I've seen the movie before I read the play. Sometimes that, influences the way we do this, but I love that we see him walk in on the aunt in his house.
Yes.
Like the scene with Jimmy Stewart and Elsa Lanchester is so delightful. Whereas in the play, he's just telling Gillian about it. And it's like, okay. He talks about like, oh, she's making noises. And Gillian's like, oh, can you understand them? And he's like, no. And, so it's just not as fun. Whereas to actually see them, and he's saying to the woman directly, what are you doing up there?
Oh, you left your window open. He's like, okay, but why are you
patently lying?
It's Christmas Eve. She's just like hanging out by his desk, looking through his things. But that's when Novak meets him, Gillian, and she thinks he's handsome. She's thinking to herself, they start the movie. I'm going to go back to the clothes. She's got this red coat and holding the cat, and she's by the Christmas tree.
She's in like her grubby clothes, which are stunning.
And the lavender in her hair, it's genius. But she's sort of like, I'm bored. What do you think I should ask for, Kitty? Because she can get whatever she wants. She's a witch. There's no drawback to me. But she's like, maybe a man. Maybe I need a romance or something. She meets Jimmy Stewart. He tells her, your aunt was in my apartment. She goes, all right, I'll see what's going on. And the aunt thinks he's cute too, and maybe like she's trying to throw a little romance into the air. I love it when they go to the Vertigo Club, which you don't get in the play.
Oh my gosh. They are only in Gillian's apartment talking about it.
Right.
And in the play, it's called the Cloven Hoof Club. In the movie, I love that it's the Zodiac Club and you have to tell your birth date to get in.
I love it.
Genius.
Tout seul au fond de la Seine, je commence à m'ennuyer. En vain, je me démène pour pouvoir me libérer. 10 ans dans la même pose, je vous assure que c'est long. Depuis que je me décompose, je fais peur aux poissons qui fichent le camp sans rémission. Je suis un noyé assassiné par un gars qu'on voulait à mon porte-monnaie. Je n'avais pas un centime, lui pour cacher son crime, il me jeta dans l'abîme, et depuis je m'abîme dans cette masse d'eau. Je suis un noyé assassiné, j'ai au cou un boulet m'empêchant de remonter. Parler d'une aventure, voilà 10 ans que ça dure, avec ça je vous jure.
It's not supposed to be known, but he's from the Paris chapter.
Encore, si on m'avait flanqué dans un tonneau, au lieu d'eau il y avait eu du vin clairet. Mais non, mes chairs en deviennent molles, je me désole et je m'étiole, la scène ne charrie pas l'alcool.
This is a charming little number about a man who was assassinated and thrown into a river. That was 10 years ago, and there he's been all this time, at the bottom, without food, alcohol, or a female friend.
Une mignonnette, rien que des petits poissons qui fichent le camp sans rémission. Je suis un noyé assassiné.
In addition, he detests water.
Dans cette crapule, voilà que je bascule dans l'eau qui fait des bulles et me v'là ridicule.
You won't catch her at El Morocco.
She looks like she's been living in a pickle barrel.
Même m'empêche de remonter. Petit mouillé, plaignez, plaignez, tous les noyés assassinés, plaignez.
And you go in, and it's just what I think a club would look like, a hipster club in 1950.
French guy, the French guy with his, what is he doing? It's amazing.
It's a performance. He's playing a song, and I put it on Spotify, just to play it. And it is about a French assassin. Of course it is. And he's all in black, like very slim, and just doing this dance.
This like interpretive dance as he's singing. Ah.
And then they have the older lady, Hermione, who's like sort of talking to people in the crowd, like describing what the song is. He's talking about this, he's talking about that. And Jimmy Stewart shows up with Janice Rule. That's his fiance. And he's like, we're going to get married because, it's probably time. Yeah, I'm 50. It's time, So she comes into the club. She's like, why aren't we at the Lanes? Why are we at the Monaco? Like, what are we doing here? He goes in there, and Kim Novak is there with her brother, and he's playing the bongos. She's like, what is this place? And then she says, oh, I recognize you.
I believe Miss Kittredge and I know each other.
Oh? I don't seem to remember.
Wellesley. We were in the same dormitory.
Yes. Yes, of course. You were that girl who used to come to class barefoot. They put you on probation for it, didn't they?
Somebody wrote a note to the dean about it. I wear them in public now, Mr. Henderson.
But, the band certainly is different.
Yes, Nicky and the boys play very well together. Nicky's the one playing the bongos. Up to a few months ago, he'd never studied music.
It's quite remarkable.
Yes, particularly when you consider that before that, he used to work in an herb shop.
Looks to me as if he's eaten one herb too many. That's why he acts so creepy, I suppose.
No, it's not that at all. Just that all the Holroyds are a little sinister. You see, Nicky's my brother.
I'm terribly sorry.
Waiter.
Yes, sir?
Give us 2 more of those, a vodka and tonic and scotch and soda.
Yes, sir.
You and I went to Wellesley together, and she, of course, you were the one that didn't wear shoes. You were barefoot. And she goes, yeah, and you're the one who told the dean about it. And then she tells the story oh, didn't you used to be afraid of thunderstorms? And then she created a thunderstorm every day for 4 months to drive her crazy.
But what is this world where you can get kicked out of school for being barefoot?
I mean, there's a lot we could say about controlling women and trying to control women, and the themes here, women in power, unchecked, maybe. I don't know. But, she's that girl, that chick that just gets people in trouble because she can. We don't like her. But she's going to marry Jimmy Stewart, and then Jimmy Stewart and Kim Novak get to talking, and she brings him to her apartment, and that's when she decides she's going to, the spell that she puts on him. Once again, the photography, the cinematography in this movie is spectacular. The cat purring and purring louder and louder and then you get the cat eyes focus on Jimmy Stewart.
And you get, there's none of that in the play. It's literally just a little bit of mumbling, and she's holding the cat, and that's it. And that's all that happens. Just in there. Magic.
We also should say Jimmy Stewart is a publisher, and he hears that there's this this book in Mexico. He goes, I was in Mexico looking for a guy. I couldn't find him. And she's like, oh, well, who are you looking for? Maybe, I could find out. And he compares it like the popularity to the Kinsey Report, which is also like, ooh, racy, because that's a.
And another thing about Edie Adams, I think it's Edie Adams. You just reminded me. The whole Ernie Kovacs, Edie Adams of it all is so fascinating.
Ernie Kovacs, by the way, when my friend used to be the PR person for the Museum of Television Radio, and this is before there was a YouTube, and she said the number of comedians that would come in just to watch Ernie Kovacs clips, because he influenced Johnny Carson,
everybody.
But like David Letterman, all of them worshipped Ernie Kovacs. Like he was just doing something spectacular with television, especially the equipment that they had at the time and what was available. So his appearance in the movie is just this rumpled, weird writer from Mexico who just sort of finds his way to New York because she conjures it.
Yeah.
It's incredible.
I'm trying to find it here. I think, if I remember correctly, Edie Adams, give me a second. Yes. Okay, so she was studying at Juilliard, and she was one of the first women to be interviewed for the Kinsey Report.
Oh my goodness, I didn't know this.
On top of everything else.
I've never seen that show. There was a show about the Kinseys, right?
Oh, yeah, we watched it. That's Masters and Johnson. The Kinsey one was the one with Liam Neeson. I can't remember, but Liam Neeson and I think like John Lithgow played his oppressive father. He's like John Lithgow's everybody's oppressive father.
And he's like the nicest man. Like when you see interviews of him,
sweetheart.
He's a sweetheart.
Yeah. So anyway, the Kinsey Report, for those of you who are not aware of what we're talking about, it was this it was the first real American kind of clinical attempt to look at human sexuality and definitively categorize like a what do I want to say, like a spectrum of human sexuality. It's very primitive, for lack of a better word, but it's the first kind of real attempt at this, and to really look at it from a scientific point of view and not a shame-based, religiously driven, norms-driven point of view. It's like, let's really look at what is actually going on in human sexuality, so that we can, basically better address these issues as doctors. But of course, because Americans being Americans and as repressed as we are, like, ooh, it's a book about sex. So everybody had to read this book about sex that said that gay people exist.
Oh, and masturbation is okay. Yes. It's that's the little bit of raciness, honestly, that we get in this movie. So he brings in Ernie Kovacs, who's great. It's so sad what happened with him. Gillian and Nikki quarreling about so they bring in this writer, Gillian, is very upset because she doesn't want to get too many of the secrets out, because look what happens to witches when they get exposed. They're quarreling about all of this. Shep is losing interest in everything because he's so obsessed and Twitter-pated with her. He's
under a spell. So all he wants to do is look at Kim Novak. We don't blame him.
No, she's beautiful. I mean, but he's losing interest in the other things. And then he's saying to her, "We got to get married." And she's like, "Dope. I don't know if I want that."
Whoa,
dude! Yeah. What? You don't want to get married to me? I'm selfish. I do what I want to do. This is not going to work for you. And he's like, doesn't want to be talked out of it. He's like, no. And then she's like, "Well, aren't you already engaged?" So he tells Janice, "Hi, I'm breaking up with you. Sorry about that. I'm in love with someone else, but that just leaves you open for another man. So I'm doing you a favor, really.
You don't want to marry me. I love Kim Novak.
You're just gonna have to." And Kim Novak is kind of freaking out because also she's losing her power. I mean, she has this life where she can make whatever she wants for herself. She's really into art. She's into history. She's into anthropology, fashion. She travels. Yeah. She loves music. She's got this great life. And it's a reason why some people don't get married, because they like that freedom. And she's like, okay, but if I do get married and if I become human, I therefore will experience pain. I'll experience loss. and I won't be able to make all the crap that I love. It's a lot to give up. It's a lot to also take in. Like, what if this really isn't real? What if I it was just a spell, and maybe that's all this is, So she doesn't know. So she's very, very conflicted over this. But they eventually, the spell does. They go to a woman, Bianca DePass, who's Hermione Gingold, and the gentlemen go to visit her, and she's like in Connecticut or something, but she comes up with this soup that Jimmy Stewart has to drink to kind of get the spell off of him, because they're like, this guy's got it too bad. He's not taking no for an answer. We need him to publish our book. We need him to like get it together. So he goes and he takes it, and then he comes back, and then he's so upset with her, like, you put a spell on me, how dare you? They have this big argument, and he takes out a broom and he gives it to her, like, ha, witch, now you take this.
I heard about last night, Shep. Oh, well, what did you go there for?
For the hair of the dog that bit me. That's why. Listen, I don't want to be here, and I wouldn't be, except that old bag said that the treatment wouldn't be complete until I confronted you.
Well, nice of her to make that a condition.
Oh, and she told me to tell you that in case you have anything further in mind, she's fixed it so you can't undo this one.
Yes, and just how did she do that?
Why, she said it was something she put in that disgusting mess she made me drink. Ugh, I've never been so humiliated in all my life, to say nothing of the money it cost me.
Why, what did she charge?
$1,000.
What?
$1,000? At least she was willing to take a check. And she also pointed out to me that if we'd gotten married, it would have cost a lot more than that to get divorced.
Well, that's a pretty comparison.
Yeah, but it's a good one. Pretty good one. Not bad. Pretty good. And now, if you'll forgive me, I think I'll be going. Believe me, I've had my fill of this bell book and candle set.
It really wasn't necessary for you to move, Shep.
Oh, yes, it was. Of course, I may have a little trouble subletting. This isn't the kind of a house that I could wholeheartedly recommend to anybody. Good day.
You mean goodbye?
That's right.
I'll never see you again.
Well, I can't see what for.
I suppose you'll go back tomorrow.
Perhaps, if she'll have me. Oh, I forgot. I'm going to a hotel, so I won't be needing this. But maybe you might, in case you ever get sick of the primitive art business. Have Broom will travel.
So, a trip to the Brooklyn Harpy, a visit to me, a final moronic joke, and away we go. It's that easy, is it? Go back to Merle Kittredge, will you? Not if I have anything to say about it. Perhaps you're defrosted, but I haven't even begun with her.
Oh, Gillian,
Let's see, what would be fancy enough? I'll transport her. Before I'm through with her, she'll see more geography than Marco Polo. And you needn't try to chase after...
And she's heartbroken, but she lets him go. In the meantime, the cat Pyewacket is her familiar.
Mm-hmm.
And so now the cat is realizing she's human. The cat's just going to go to their next one. So he leaves her, or she. We don't know what Pyewacket's deal is.
It's true.
Yeah. But that scene breaks my heart, because just like in Breakfast at Tiffany's, when she loses cats,
it's like, very that.
It's very that. I'm like, no, you can't let the cat go. And the cat's got a little bell on it. And so Jimmy Stewart's back in publishing, and he tells them their book is terrible. You got to start over. Come up with another idea. He's yelling at his assistant, his sweet assistant. He's just barking at her. And then the cat just shows up at his window, literally at his window. And he puts the cat in a waste paper basket and because it doesn't have a cat carrier, of course not. Mm-hmm. But he brings it back to Kim, and she's now has a flower shop. Like, she got rid of all the cool decorations.
She got rid of all of her artifacts, and she's now selling. I mean, granted, they're very well made.
Yeah.
But she's selling flowers of the sea. So,
shells,
floral sculptures made out of seashells, which, just as a former interior designer, let me just say, that's a word of advice. If you must have one, just stick to one. You don't need more than one in your house. Just one. Just one's good. So I can't imagine that they're like selling like hotcakes. I would imagine she'd have a bigger market for her other store, but I guess now that she doesn't have witchy magic and charm, she's selling flowers of the sea.
And she's wearing white, and she's
wearing white.
I forgot to mention.
Still looks beautiful.
Oh, it's gorgeous.
Are you doing well?
Yes, very. How are things with you?
Fine.
Good. How's Merle?
She's fine. Fine. I guess. I haven't seen much of her lately. I must say it was decent of you not to hex her after all. Would you think better of it?
Yes.
You know, it's extraordinary the way we can discuss things like this.
Isn't it?
Because...
I know. We're strangers to each other.
No, not quite that.
I wish you wouldn't stare at me so.
Gil, you're not blushing.
Of course not. I want you to have this. It's small return for what I cost you. So little compared to what you gave me.
I'm afraid I never gave you much of anything.
Oh, yes, you did. You gave me something wonderful. You made me unhappy.
You're crying, too.
All right, I'm crying.
Well, why didn't you come and tell me?
I don't know. Pride, I guess, or shame.
Well, how did it happen?
It just happened. It does sometimes.
No, it only happens one way. The story is it only happens if you fall in love. And it's been happening to me too, Gil. It's ever since I walked in here. Only it's real this time.
Oh, Shep.
Forgot to mention, there's a scene in Jimmy Stewart's office. There's this like horse sculpture that's on his desk. And I was like, that cannot be. And I looked it up. It is the same thing that you see in the Brady Bunch in their house.
I was going to say it's the Brady horse.
It's the Brady horse.
Mom said don't play ball in the house.
Right.
I know. Yeah.
We've seen that thing forever. The most ill-conceived house ever is that house. But it's...
They probably just had it in a prop warehouse, and then when they were making the Brady Bunch, they're like, let's grab this.
I think it's a Paramount
production.
The same
exact horse.
Yeah, so I'm sure. Yeah, exactly. I'm certain. So anyway, he comes back to see her. He returns the cat to her. She says, "Oh, it's no longer my cat. It belongs to Aunt Queenie." But then that's when she starts having tears, and she showed Queenie her tears, like she's truly fully human now. And that's when he says, they realize that they love each other and they have to be together, and so they get together, and Nicky's disgusted because he likes her as a witch. He's a warlock. And then all of a sudden the street lights go out outside, and that's when you see Pywick on top of the lamp. Like Pywick's just running the show now.
I love it.
Them making out on the couch, by the way, with their bare feet is like the sexiest thing.
Oh.
I mean, there's so much going on here, y'all. But it's so visually beautiful.
It's gorgeous.
It's a gorgeous movie.
Absolutely gorgeous.
And you go through all the emotions with them. A part of me is just like, God, she's giving up so much. But then it's like, yeah, but it's Jimmy Stewart. It's not like.
I know. and also like, it's also too that like, unlike you and I who grew up watching Bewitched and I Dream of Jeannie, at no point is Jimmy Stewart like, now hide your witchcraft. Like,
yes.
Don't let anybody know you're a witch. Like, again, the witch thing is never a problem with him. That's never an issue with him. He's just mad that she lied.
Right.
And that she was, her interest in him was the revenge that she could get on Janice Rule, which is totally valid. And so then I'm not mad about it at the end that she, that they're together and that she she knew that if she fell in love, that was something that could happen. It's great. It's so good. It's so good. And that Christmas tree, darn it.
Oh, it's.
Where is it?
Where is this tree? It needs to be in
Why
a museum.
isn't it on Etsy? Is it? I'm going to look.
Yeah, look up that Christmas tree. Yeah, seriously. It does really well. It was nominated for 2 categories, Best Art Direction and for Best Costume Design. And it received a Golden Globe nomination for Best Motion Picture Comedy. It didn't win. They don't all win that we watch, but it's a classic for a reason. It's a weird little movie. Like Margos says, like a lot of people think it's a Halloween movie because it's about a witch, but it's not, but it is the inspiration for Bewitched. And it is, a story about women in power. I love it. Did you find it?
It's not on Etsy.
What?
You can't buy it anywhere on the internet. Well, I feel very disappointed.
Margot's crushed.
I feel very disappointed. Etsy people, come on. Let's get it together. Let's make it happen. I will buy it. Don't make me have to make this myself because I could. I just don't have the time or the patience. Dang it.
I know.
I want that tree. Even a little one. I would be so happy. Yeah, it is just the right amount of Christmassy.
Mm-hmm.
It's just a lovely little icing of Christmassy goodness. So book or movie?
Movie.
Yeah, totally movie.
Yeah. The Zodiac Club. If for no other reason, I'm like
game over.
Game over. Yeah. But her wardrobe is to die.
It's such a great movie. She's so good.
She really is.
She really is underrated. I mean, and I get it. She's devastatingly beautiful. It confuses us. And we lose sight of how amazingly good she is. Yeah, man. And the two of them.
It's Jimmy Stewart's last romantic role. After that, he sort of played the everyman or the grandpa or
Westerns.
Westerns, a lot of Westerns.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But it's a slice of special.
It's great. Oh, it's so good. Okay, look. So as we said, this movie has just like a beautiful, just a lovely chiffon scarf of Christmas, in this fun witchy production. Now, the next movie that we're going to cover is going to whack you across the face, kick you in the behind into the street, and then run you over with Christmas. Just be warned.
We're covering, it's a Dolly Parton song turned into a movie. And it is called, what is it called, Margot? Christmas in the Square.
It is called Christmas on the Square.
On the Square.
Directed by, you want fame? Well, fame costs. And right here is where you start paying. In Debbie Allen.
And sweat. And Debbie Allen. Treat Williams, R.I.P. He's in this. It's on Netflix. Christine Baranski.
Don't get out of this town. Yeah.
I mean, this is going to be.
She's the baddie.
It's
Jennifer Lewis.
It's a great cast.
And by the way, Dolly Parton.
Dolly Parton, who has the #1 album as we speak, rock star. She's amazing. So that's what we're covering next. It's available on Netflix. I'm sure you can stream it at other places too, because I think it's from 2020. We're very excited. After that, we're doing Miracle on 34th Street. That's also going to hit your head with Christmas, but probably not as much as this one.
No, this is really, yeah. Just buckle up.
Yeah.
That's all I'm saying.
For the one after that, like if y'all have ideas for New Year's, maybe like we already covered the Poseidon Adventure. We did cover that. But also winter's coming up. Musicals in March. We have just all kinds of things coming up. We have 2024. I can't believe it's going to be 2024, Margot, in a few weeks. Oh my God.
I'm shocked and also a little glad. It's been a year. It's been a crazy year. Mm-hmm. Just been a lot. Not bad, just a lot.
It's a lot. All right, y'all. So all those places I mentioned at the top of the show, please send us your suggestions. We love hearing from you. And once again, the email, bookversusmoviepodcast@gmail.com. And if you'd like some stickers, let us know. We'll drop them in the mail for you. Margot, where can they find you?
You can find me online at coloniabook.com, and all my social media callouts are at She's Not Your Mama. And where can they find you?
You can find me at brooklynfitchick.com. I'm also Brooklyn Fit Chick for Twitter, as long as that exists. Instagram and Threads. Everything else is Brooklyn Margot, including my TikTok, where I have many clips of this movie on there, and it has lots of fans. I found people right away that were notifying me how much they enjoy it. Okay, everyone, we'll be back soon with a new episode. Thank you so much for listening to the Book versus Movie podcast. We're a part of the Frolic Podcast Network. You could find more podcasts you will love at frolic.media/podcasts. You could find us on Twitter, Threads, Blue Sky, and Instagram at Book versus a Movie. Just spelled it all out. We have a Patreon page. Type in there Book vs. Movie Podcasts, where you can find 8 years worth of shows. You can follow Margot D on social media at Brooklyn Margot and also Brooklyn Fit Chick. You can find Margot P at She's Nacho Mama. Thank you again for listening, and please be sure to send along your suggestions for the show. Remember, the book needs to be easy to get your hands on, and the movie has to be streaming on a major platform. We will be back soon with a new episode.